Welcome everybody to Unanet Live on LinkedIn. We are excited today about this presentation. 30, both Christine and I are 30-year vets in the GovCon space, and man, things are changing. So we are excited to see and really hope to add value to what we're seeing in the market, how things are progressing, what we're seeing the leading companies do, and how you can leverage and use the changes in the FAR to your advantage. And I'm really happy and excited that Christine Williamson is here. Christine, I'd love to have you introduce yourself to everybody out there.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Unanet. And really great to teach with you, John, on such an interesting, relevant topic. As John said, I'm Christine Williamson with Cohn-Resnick. I've been here for more than 30 years, so we just say 30 plus. And from that, I guess you get to be called an expert maybe after that. I am the co-author of the Gauge report that we do with Unanet. And I've been in government contracting and seen it all. And this last year was, a doozy. Government contracting is a main industry for Cohn-Resnick. We kind of call it, it's not what you do, it's who you work for. And we handle the normal, the need to be services of tax and audit, but we also do a lot of compliance and analysis, making sure that the government contractor is doing the right thing for the federal government and keeping up with all the necessary compliance that it does. So that's what I do right now, John, and that's why I'm here today. So thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you. And so we're going to go through a series of information that we think is relevant, it's important, and it's really, our focus was not salesy, it was impact. So we hope you enjoyed today. With that, Christine, would you like to kick it off?
I will kick it off. All right, so we're going to talk about FAR 2.0. It's been a long time coming, how modernized federal buying is changing. And I love this, who wins and how fast. And a little spoiler alert, the Gauge theme this year is on winning. So good stuff. Okay, so the federal acquisition landscape is changing, and that's really what the FAR 2.0 changes are about federal acquisition, how the government procures, and how it wants to work with businesses for the future. Okay, so what is the FAR overhaul? A lot of people call it the RFO, the Revolutionary FAR overhaul. So if you hear RFO, that's a new acronym, at least it is for me. The FAR overhaul is a push to commercial acquisitions. Competition is good, right? That's what they always say. So it makes us all better. And if we can push more to commercial buying, hopefully prices come down, hopefully not always, but that the product or the quality goes up, but it will make us all better for our customer. Faster procurement is another big stool leg to the FAR overhaul that we've got to get faster. And I don't think there's anybody on here that has been involved in federal contracting that couldn't agree that we needed faster procurement, which means easier for the evaluators to evaluate your RFP, whether it's a task order or what other type of contract vehicle it is, because really the contracting officers, I think in a way, felt like they had handcuffs with all the rigid requirements around them. And then compliance expansion, that's really about measuring the performance. And there's a lot of it, we'll talk about that. Some of it is measuring the negative performance and not the positive, which means you're going to be on heightened alert when you're doing work because you don't want that negative performance getting in the CPAR system. It's not about did you do a good job. It's, if you didn't do a good job, we want to know about it for the future. John and I were just talking about it's not that everybody gets a prize anymore in the new world. And then the threshold increases we've all been waiting for, whether it's the simplified acquisition threshold, whether it's the cost accounting standards threshold, whether it's micro purchase. DOD, DOW has a specific simplified acquisition threshold. So in the end, what we have down here is this implication is we're going to have more competitors to bring to the forefront, to bring good innovation, faster timelines, and higher expectations of the government and the customer, which I think we all agree. If we're buying things personally for your home, whatever you're buying, you kind of have that, you want that, have that same need. So talking about the gauge report, John, just had to throw that in there, right? I mean, couldn't go without showing some question or survey item from the gauge. So this was asked last year, and we put it in here because I think it shows a lot of positive, because this is when Doge had just we'd all been doged, we'd all been hit by what was happening. In addition to the FAR overhaul, so I feel like the FAR overhaul kind of got maybe a negative underscoring because of Doge, so much changing that you couldn't see the positive of what this was going to do. I think we all have it now. You're here today to learn more about it. But just looking at two of the areas where people answered, embracing the new opportunities. We had a 25% of the survey respondents that I'm going to embrace these new opportunities and new changes. And then the last one said, we asked, is there no change to your sentiment towards federal contracting? And 32%. So we're looking at, over 50% of the respondents said, I'm not going to change. I'm going to keep pursuing as usual, and I'm going to embrace these new opportunities. And there were folks that were scared, back then, of change, and that's what change brings. Change brings, uncertainty. So I think we've all learned a lot, and it's really, I think it's appropriate this timing, what we're doing here today, John, with you to talk about this.
And for the people that don't know, the gauge is to us a big deal because it's feedback from the market. It's about 1,200 to 1,300 government contractors of all size. So when we say we put this together, this is not Christine and I's opinion. This is based off of literally hundreds of thousands of conversations, survey pieces, etc., to help us better understand so we can better help the market. So thank you, Christine, for bringing that up. I think it's very important.
Yeah, thank you. So why the FAR 2.0 matters right now and why it's going to matter in the future. And just to level set, the FAR is written, it's the contracting officer's like buying book. That is their Bible to what they're supposed to do. And then we all read it and try to interpret it to understand, how to respond to RFPs. It really matters right now that you do set yourself up for these faster procurements, because it's going to take time for your systems to kind of catch up with this, because you could be used to, the slower procurement cycle you had been in. So that's one reason why we say this is really important right now. There's a lot that they talk about rapid capabilities, and DoD has created a lot of rapid capability offices within different areas. So we need to make sure that we can keep up with those changes that they're making and the requests that they have. the task orders, they say there's going to be a lot more task orders and modular task orders. So maybe breaking things up smaller to get that quick purchase, not lump that purchase into something huge, but do smaller task orders. Again, commercial solutions are first. That first preference they're saying now is on FAR Part 12, which is commercial buying. And then performance-based evaluations. As I mentioned, not everybody's going to get a prize anymore. It's really about achieving the mission on what you did versus how you did it. So that ability kind of to apply that expertise and innovation that you have is really what the federal government wants to buy now. And I think this implication that we listed here, if you're not looking at FAR 2.0, the contractors who can't move quickly and prove performance, I think will lose ground to someone who can. All right, so this is just a little overview, these quadrants here of helping folks look at taking advantage of FAR 2.0, and a lot of it is what I've said, but it takes a little bit of reading and looking at it and understanding it to really understand what do you need to tailor what do you need to tailor within your business to kind of modernize how the federal government is purchasing. They mention the word agile. That's in that bottom left quadrant. More agile, mission-focused evaluation environment for the purchase that the customer is making. And then that commercial preference, yes, that's going to shift some risk to the federal government or to the seller, so the government contractor. So fixed price contracts are riskier than, of course, a cost plus. Cost plus is the least risky contract because you're usually going to get paid for what you've done, regardless of if you met the mission or if you met the end goal. And then buying guides and strategic acquisition guidance. There's a lot of tools out there, and we have some of these listed for you, but you should really look at these buying guides. Tell your estimators, tell your salespeople, tell your buyers, even with working with your suppliers, that you need to be looking at these new tools. There's a FAR companion guide as well, so that you can understand how that left top quadrant is, that these evaluations are really shifting from compliance driven to kind of the outcome driven assessments. And that's how you can take advantage of what's changing. Anything you want to add there, John?
No, and I think this is the key elements that we want to cover. I think as we go through this helps. Our goal is to help you in a very simple way understand what's going on and how it can impact you and what you can do to battle it. So no, this is great. I think this is a good slide.
Okay, so just a few more slides and then we'll dive into the focus areas of the FAR that many of you have probably read about and are talking about. But the faster buying cycles, the acquisition team, they want to have more discretion and flexibility, and this is what FAR 2.0 does for them. So that's number one, how procurement is changing. I mentioned the task order driven work. They talk about modular stints and breaking things up into manageable procurement, and that's what they're doing here with more task orders. Increasing the competition is good, and there's a lot more ways that they've offered to work with industry. They want the contracting officers and the buyers to go out, whether it's social media, looking at various different ways to increase that competition net, because it had gotten kind of shrunk. I mean, if you looked over 10, 15 years, small business had stopped doing business with the federal government. I mean, it had dropped almost 40 to 50%. There was still small business, but it was a lot less small business. And then that greater compliance scrutiny, you're going to see us when we go over FAR Part 52, the changes that many of you maybe didn't want, but cybersecurity is going to be here to stay. That compliance has to be front and center. Your supply chain has to be front and center. That kind of governance on your AI and your IT is very important. And the interesting thing about this, John, that I was thinking about yesterday is, this is helping the contracting officer kind of helping them to be more prepared, motivate, and overcome that risk aversion that they had, and that organizational government backlog of getting things done. And that really helps create our warfighter to be more prepared for what they need to do. And so, maybe this is really just with the Middle East war and things that are happening. I mean, maybe we really needed to prime up and improve our acquisition so that we can do these sort of things to protect the world and protect us. So it's a bigger implication than just, than any of us realize. So the modernization, what's that mean for you? The shorter procurement timeline. So be prepared for that. The evaluations, they say, are less than 180 days or less is what they want. They want to default to those commercial solutions, which is really through other transaction authority and agreements. That's how a lot of that's going to occur. That greater emphasis on performance and documentation. The executive order said it well, bringing common sense back to procurement. So that expectation is there, and that could be through proof of concept demos, merit-based evaluations, challenge-based acquisitions. So this is how a lot of this modernization is occurring with the federal government. And it's really interesting. I mean, some of the tactics that they're using, I think we're all learning from it. And then that new competitive equation John came up with, speed plus proof equals winning. John, I think that might end up in the 10-year anniversary gauge this year, since our theme is winning. But what do faster procurements mean? It means, more task orders, like we just said, a stronger compliance expectations. It's not, I want you to have this and this and this. I'm going to expect it when you bid on this work. And then the transparent performance data of the work that you have been doing. There's legislation that was just passed, the SPEED Act, the Forged Act, and all of those helped raise those thresholds that I talked about earlier. Anything you want to add, John, about your competitive equation that you came up with?
Well, and I would say it this way, and I grew up in the son of two military and intelligence, parents. The speed is becoming more commercial. And it is one of the things that the underlying piece of speed plus proof equals winning is data, right? You have to have the data. What's coming? Do we have access to it? Do we know if it's a fit for us? Can we do it? Once we do it, did we succeed at it? And did the government get what they were expecting to pay for? All of that ties back into the speed of data.
Yes. That's why FAR Part 52 is, AI governance and protecting the government's information from cyber attacks. Because it's not, will you have a cyber attack? It's what will you do when you have it? Okay. So the last thing on the GovCon growth life cycle, this is very, this didn't change. Well, we got to find out if there's an opportunity, intelligence, work with the industry. What what does the industry have to offer? The capture process, it's an open market, but we want flexible contract structures. So when that proposal comes out, let's make it be flexible, accelerate awards. The delivery is not what to do, or it is what to do. It's not how you do it, but it's what did you do. And then that performance-based, again, merit-based, CPARs, and unfortunately focusing on the negative events. And those will keep the bad actors out, and keep the good actors in. And then recompeting your award. I mean, there's bid protest regulations now too on rules of bid protest. And then it really accelerates the pressure at every stage of the purchase, which is interesting. When I read that and looked at that, it really does. It's every stage of the growth life cycle. This FAR 2.0 made a change. Okay, so we're going to jump right in to where the modernization impacts the FAR. So let's dive into these 7 FAR parts that really were the lion's share of the changes. And there was a lot of the FAR changes that were just easier to read, simple language. That was a lot of that was changed with the FAR. But first, they want to accelerate, and that's in FAR Part 12 and 13. FAR Part 15, raising the narrative on quality. 16 talks about changing competition and bringing out more task orders. Compliance in 19 on teaming, joint ventures, small business, and then FAR Part 42, requiring your performance documentation and then expanding the compliance. All right, so I love these slides. John was great and pulling a lot of this together. But, we talk about what the FAR changes in each of these next 7 slides. We talk about what the FAR change is, then the impact to the GovCon community, and challenges that you're going to have. So I think that's important. We're kind of giving you the good, the bad, the ugly to prepare for. So FAR Part 12 and 13 is about commercial buying. So more RFQs, which underneath the simplified acquisition threshold, which was increased, more RFPs that the contracting officer can issue, more purchases on customary licenses for software, primary purchases of the federal supply schedules, really focusing in that area. So the opportunity for you is a higher volume, shorter response windows. Sorry, the contracting people, I know I know how it is putting proposals together. But that need for that rapid proposal development will then make you look internally as to what are our tools to make that happen. So I know that that's important, and that's some of the things Unanet's been working on. And so these challenges you're going to see is that some things may slip through the cracks. It's going to be hard to keep up with the volume, and the capture teams may not be able to keep up with the rapid opportunities.
The one thing, Christine, we're seeing here that's a challenge that's not on here, but it's important, is every customer we're talking to has these 3 issues, but they can't hire. Mm-hmm. And so it's how do you maximize those pieces while keeping your operational staff in check so that you can maximize not only top line, but bottom line revenue.
Good. And the big takeaway in here is that the price reduction clause was removed for new contracts. And that's the big one. That was where the government always wanted to ensure that they received, they were the favored customer. That was administratively very burdensome. There was a lot of compliance risk with that. So this is a big win for a lot of contractors. A lot of people were happy to see that go. Okay, FAR Part 15. This is where we're talking about negotiation, narratives. You're telling your clear performance story of what you're doing, and this is where the challenges to the GovCon community are really going to be that you have to focus on understanding and responding to the evaluators and what they need. The contracting officer is going to have more discretion and more judgment based on their source selection. So the best value procurements, which is what a lot of us prefer, rather than going low price technically acceptable, which that just means you pile up the lowest price to the top. If it's technically acceptable, they got picked. None of us like that. So well-documented approaches, strong past performance, and clear, narratives on what you do. So it's going to be very important that you're capturing the right proposals you want to answer. You provide, very good visibility of what you're going to do and how you're going to help the solution for the government. So they're really raising the bar on, the quality of the narrative of what you put together in FAR Part 15. Anything you want to add to that, John?
No, I mean, it all comes back to make sure that you're maximizing your chance of winning and telling the best performance story. It is really understanding how you're aligned at, past performance plus relationship management and where you're aligned versus teaming to can you actually deliver what you as a team to do this and why you? And a lot of those is in people's heads. The challenge of it now with it speeding up is it has to get out faster and it has to be right. So speed and accuracy matter right now.
Good. Very good. Okay, FAR Part 16. This is increasing the task order velocity that I mentioned. This is where the IDIQs and the blanket purchase agreement is going to expand. An IDIQ holder may be overwhelmed by task order volume, as we mentioned before. So you need to be prepared for that with templates, with certain types of, proposal AI that you can use. That's what Unanet, you call your proposal AI system. So, something to think about, and everybody's looking at, so many different ways to improve their proposal accuracy and speed. But there's going to be a lot more task orders and delivery orders. The big thing under this too is that the blanket purchase orders are going to be permitted under those multiple award contracts, which they weren't before. Okay. FAR Part 19 is about small business and small business programs, changing verification, JV requirements. I mean, this has taken a whole, life of its own with how SBA is looking at compliance and eligibility and really monitoring that. They're going to remove some of the requirements about when do you have to represent when you're small. At the contract, removed it at the task order level, and just at the contract level, you will have to say whether you're small at like options and at possibly at novations. But there's going to be we've already heard it. There's just a lot more scrutiny on various type of small business groups, and so there's going to be a little bit of a less of an emphasis, which is really in FAR Part 6 and 10, on small business set-asides. Anything you want to add to that, John?
No, I think that's spot on.
All right. And then FAR Part 42. So this is where we talked about that the surveillance and the contract administration is kind of tightening. You know, there is going to be some increased oversight on that contractor performance documentation. So for us, we're glad to see this. We want to make sure that you're ready for various type of audits. I actually have had more calls for business systems and preparation than I ever have before. And we had them twice or three times a month. Now it's happening, 6, 7, 8 times, where companies are really looking at making sure they have those competitive assets in their toolbox. So when they're bidding on the contract, that readiness is there. I think that's the biggest thing. And then that surveillance of how well your performance is going to be tracked a lot more than it was in the past. And really, in business systems, we required contractors to do that for their subs. We required that, hey, you need to go back and document how well your subs did, and would you use them again. And so I think the federal government, is trying to improve that here, and there are changes in FAR Part 42. All right, and then FAR Part 52, before I change it over to John to give you some time to kind of talk more about this. FAR Part 52 is also expanding some compliance requirements, and that's in cybersecurity. A lot of us have talked about CMMC, and that a lot of contractors have realized that there is a lofty sort of expense to preparing for that. But I think as we've all had to deal with IT compliance and cyber problems, we realize how important that is, because there's a lot of bad actors out there that are trying to get the data that's so important to us. So I think this has been a challenge, but we're seeing a lot more companies get CMMC compliant. A lot of companies like Unanet as well. You guys have done a lot with your FedRAMP requirements using your system. So I think it's just part of our DNA now that we have to have the cybersecurity, shackles on us to keep us all secure from letting out data. And you said data was the most important too, John.
I did.
All right.
All right. So here's the opportunity. This is, in our world, going back to data, this is the data of the new age. And it is an edge in the way that we look at the market. So winning firms today really are understanding, and 30 years of watching people play in the GovCon space, things have dramatically shifted. So now people are seeing agency buying patterns. Are they well-funded? Are they considered must-have? Are these organizations and the people where we're going to make our stand as we go through this? We are making sure that we understand where our competitors are positioned and how well we do with them. How we really look at the evaluation trends and going forward and the task order activity. This level of upfront work is helping the best of the GovCons that are changing quickly to really help them not only to really focus on their go-to-market and where their strategy is, but it's allowing them to stop guessing and really focus on winning. Next slide. So winning in FAR 2.0 requires 3 things, and this has not changed in the world of business. It's just been expedited now. Strategy, understanding agencies' buying shifts. Systems, connecting growth infrastructure. Execution, speed, compliance, and performance. These are going to become more and more non-negotiable. Next slide. How systems can help. All right. So modern acquisition requires 3 things, and Christine did a great job of outlining this: speed, quality, and compliance. at the core element of everything you're seeing with FAR 2.0, this is what it boils down to. Excuse me. So manual processes cannot keep up. So in my 30 years of doing CRM, the number one system I've taken people from is Excel and Outlook. That is going to become more cumbersome to be able to keep up with everything that's changing and how much data is coming out. Next slide. So speed, what does that mean? And it means competing in faster buying cycles. And so here's, when we talk about this, and I've had many people this year outline this to me, when we talk about typically opportunities are won or lost as part of the capture process. And it's usually typically before that, right? But as we go through this, now with GWACs and IDIQs and things being released faster, we have to make sure that A, we're not missing anything that's relevant to us. And that's in our sweet spot. B, we cannot continue to hire $80,000 to $120,000 a year business analysts, or God forbid, $150,000 plus BD people to focus on this. And so we need tools to help us better manage the incoming aspects of this, and also telling us what companies or what agencies or opportunities we should be working with, teaming with, and going after. Because when we talk about high velocity pipeline, it really comes down into all the key things we've known forever. What is the agency trying to solve for? Are we best aligned with what they're trying to do? Does our past performance meet that? All these things come into play. It just goes much faster. You've got to respond quickly to task orders, right? And that involves everything from making sure you're picking the right ones, to managing the relationships, to using things like AI to turn around proposals quickly, right? And then we've got to reuse proposal content efficiently. That's your secret sauce. So as we do this, organizations that increase speed and accuracy, right, and understanding tying that back to what the agency is looking for, will win more in this high volume, fast turn environment. Next slide. Here we go, quality. So you've got to align winning best value evaluations, aligning capture, proposal, and delivery. I've never seen the ability to best select which opportunities you're going after to maximize P-win and P-go is the most important I've ever seen in the 30 years of working with GovCons. We've got to develop stronger, more consistent narratives. And this is where AI helps, and it's also not a silver bullet. The idea of AI as we go through this is to help you get to a pink team quickly and ensure that you're compliant, so you have more time back to focus on those win themes that are going to differentiate you in the market and showcase your value. You've got to leverage past performance effectively. This goes back into, hey, we can do this. We've shown we can do this, and this is why us. And we have to improve visibility across the life cycle. Multiple sets of meetings anymore. When you're talking about task orders being pushed out quickly and need to respond to quickly, there's going to be too much missed. And if too much is missed and you focus on the wrong ones, it's not a good situation. Firms that connect this data and the storytelling deliver stronger proposal and improve win rates. Next slide. So keeping up with expanding requirements. This is what Christine and team do better than anybody, right? So this is tracking partners' eligibility and work share, maintain audit-ready documentation, managing certifications and flow down, ensure consistency across teams. This centralized compliance can move faster, but also has to do this in a way that reduces the risk and ensures your success, and more importantly, your customer's success. The more they're successful with you, the more that you will be successful. Next slide. So how are leading GovCons, how are they responding? All right. So what they're doing is they are really building an environment right now, and they're investing in faster opportunity identification, right? And this means how am I ensuring that what is on the GWACs and the IDIQs that I work with, from SAM and eBuy down, that I understand what's being released, how it applies to me, and I'm using things like AI to score these, so I'm only focused on the things that matter to me. I want to cut out the noise, right? And I also have a rapid proposal development response, and that ties back into my sales process too, right? If I don't have the right relationships, I'm not aligned, and I'm not focused on the things that we do best, tied back to scoring, I can do a lot of proposals and still lose. And all AI does is have me lose faster. Quality, stronger narratives aligned to evaluation criteria, better use of past performance and delivery data, and being honest and open and looking at what feedback we're getting from the market and making pivots based off of that. Compliance, centralized documentation and audit readiness, improved tracking of partners, certifications and requirements. It's really no longer a nice to have, but a must have. So winning requires aligning speed, quality, and compliance across the entire life cycle.
I love all that. I love all that, John, because it kind of sums it all up really well.
Well, and I think it's very true.
Yeah.
All right, next slide. So this is our one. We have two commercials, and we'll keep this very quick.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we love partnering with Cohn & Resnick, because it is technology and advisory working together across the GovCon lifecycle, and we each bring our unique set of capabilities to the table. Unanet, in regard to task order, GWAC, and SAM intelligent and pipeline visibility and capture, proposal acceleration, integrated ERP for delivery, financials, and compliance, and then end-to-end visibility for the GovCon lifecycle.
Yeah, it is technology plus advisory. And I love the way you put that, John, because you have to understand the FAR and all that regulatory advisory that goes with it to then be compliant, be ready, do that risk management on what systems do I need, what type of compliance should I have, and then aligning that. These business systems are really internal controls on purchasing, estimating, accounting. So we love to support those contract requirements and work with Unanet really because together we help the organization align in whatever systems, executing the changes with FAR 2.0, and then ultimately that kind of aligns, the strategy going forward for the organization. So this is a sales slide, but it's also, a really good slide because you could, take our names off the top and realize that's what we all need to do.
All right. I love that. So what this means to you, and one of the things that Christine and I talked about is sales slides are great, but we want to help, right? And everybody's in this as a business, but we truly want to help. So, to compete in this, organizations should assess where the organizations stand across speed, quality, and compliance. Identify gaps that they have around capture, proposal, delivery, and compliance, and then align systems, process, and teams to support faster, more competitive execution. We are here and happy to schedule a working session with you, no charge, to walk you through your current approach and identify areas and opportunities to improve. If we're not willing to do that and put skin in the game, you should not be working with either one of us. So that's one of the things that we would love to have you understand, that we're in this to help. All right. So last, I think we're almost there. So the key takeaways.
We're doing good too.
FAR modernization is accelerating competition. Speed and compliance are now decisive advantages. Lifecycle visibility is critical, and firms that align intelligence, proposals, and delivery will win more. So one of the things that we want to thank everybody, we have a handful of questions. We will be working with the lovely Miss Rachel Adams of Unanet to make sure that we get all those questions answered, because there's a handful, and I unfortunately don't think we will have full time to do them, but we will be putting them on both Cohn & Resnick's and Unanet's LinkedIn so that you can be able to make sure that you get those.
Yes, that's great. That's great. And I assume that this live version will get taped and folks can listen to it again, which these are great slides. Great job, John, working with you, pulling this together. And I think we met the goal. We really talked about how this revolutionary FAR overall is modernizing the buying, and then really turned it around to, well, how do you win and how fast and who is going to win. So there's a lot packed in here, but a lot of good information that I think business owners and C-level management teams can take back to try to help them decipher what's their next move and how they build and rebuild their environments to manage this change. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing your expertise to the table today. The good news we hope all of you take away from is A, thank you for being part of the GovCon community, and B, there's hope, right? This has been an interesting year, but there are real strategies that we're working and we're seeing it every day.
Yeah, thank you.
Please
For
reach
sure.
out to Christine and I on LinkedIn. We will make sure we get back to you. You'll be seeing this will be put on YouTube shortly. And then we will be also working on answers to your questions. And we hope everybody has a fantastic day.
Thank you. Take care.